Wish we could turn back time to the good old days when the mama sang us to sleep, but now we're stressed out. Wish we could turn back time.
The Princess Dragon is dead. Long live the new princess. Majestic as fuck, isn't she? Hey, what's up everyone? Now, Chroma of course got nerfed. Be angry, be annoyed, be sad, be happy, whatever. His damage and survivability both took a pretty big hit with the recent changes when Digital Extremes adjusted his Vex armor calculations. Something that a lot of us had modded around our Chroma for 3 years, which apparently was a long-standing issue, right? Now I have test builds for my Chroma towards the end of the video builds that I have been running since these changes. Now before I start, let me just say that this, as a so-called Chroma main, I don't think that the new Chroma is altogether bad, but he definitely isn't great either. There seems to be something off with him. He's just kind of meh right now. He no longer stands out among other Warframes that now give similar buffs to what he gives. There's just nothing special about him. Now, he has still got a decent armor buff and a decent damage dealing buff, as well as being able to share those with your squads, and he is still being used to hunt Eidolons right now, but that's probably because we haven't found the single best squad setup yet. Different clans and squads are of course testing what is the best composition right now, and Warframes like Trinity, Volt, Oberon, Rhino, Octavia, Harrow and of course Chroma are all frames of choice with these hunts, with either a Trinity or an Oberon being a must-have in one of those squads. So now you're free to switch out Chroma in order to stick in a Rhino with his roar, or Octavia with her amp, or a Volt with his shield. But the funny thing is, Chroma was nerfed to stop players from killing Eidolons quickly. That's the kind of reason they give. And already we have players solo killing all 3 Eidolons in one night cycle with a different Warframe. A Warframe that isn't Chroma. So was Chroma the issue to begin with, or was it something else? Was it the Eidolons themselves, or the actual battle mechanics of killing those Eidolons? Now we know he's not the powerhouse he once was, and as a rough example of his nerfed survivability, let me show you 2 clips, one on top of the other. On the large screen you will see my 299 power strength Chroma after the nerf against 4 level 100 heavy gunners. On the smaller screen is a clip from one of my old videos where my Chroma had 170 power strength against 20 level 100 heavy gunners. Both of course have Arcane Grace equipped. Now the nerfed Chroma had a much larger scorn buff but dies a lot faster in comparison to the 170% power strength Chroma. Of course, in the footage I am just standing there absorbing damage and seeing how quick it could kill me. In a real mission scenario, you're going to be shooting back, and those level 100 gunners will of course die in the blink of an eye because of that fury buff. So he can still go toe to toe with level 100 enemies with no real issues. I guess you're just going to have to play a little bit smarter than what you might have in the past. However, on MOT Survival, which I think still has that 4 times multiplier from the old Tower 4 Void system, he took a lot more damage than what he used to off those crazy shotgun bastards. Now the Vex armor buff is now recastable and of course is shared with your squad mates who are inside that 18 meter base range, so you can mod for more range if you need it. When you recast Vex armor with the buff still active, it will simply refresh the duration while keeping that buff percentage that you have all of the time. So you can basically keep your Vex armor buff up all the time if you can micromanage that duration, and at the same time you don't need to keep self-damaging yourself in order to get that buff back up to that really high percentage. Now another change to Chroma seen with this update is that his Spectral Scream will have its damage boosted by that Vex armor buff, and of course you can also move while casting Spectral Scream. However, Spectral Scream does about the same amount of damage as licking a fucking Duracell battery. It's just a terrible ability and quite frankly should be removed from Chroma, and maybe the same goes for Effigy. Get rid of those 2, combine Elemental Ward and Vex Armor and just give him new abilities altogether, and then maybe he might stand out above other Warframes, because right now he just doesn't. So now that Chroma is somewhat of a support Warframe with a decent amount of survivability that gives that Vex armor buff to your whole squad, an important question you should be asking right now is, why would you bring a Chroma to a mission when you could bring a Rhino or even an Octavia to the mission instead? Because both of these frames seem to bring more to a squad than what Chroma does. Because now the Chroma's damage buff is on par more or less with Rhino's. I think Chroma's buff is marginally better on weapons, but only by a ball hair. Now a ball hair of course is an Irish form of measurement, so fuck you. All Chroma brings is weapon buffs. His effigy sucks, and like I said, his scream can fuck right off. Rhino will bring an overall damage buff to frames and weapons with his roar, but he will also bring crowd control with his stomp ability as well. His roar also has a much larger range than what Vex Armor has, and doesn't require your teammates to stand or stay right beside you within range of him once you actually get that buff. So Rhino can roar, you can get that buff, and then you can go off and do whatever the hell you want and then come back and get the buff, whereas with Vex Armor you need to stay beside Chroma at all times or within his range. And if you choose to bring an Octavia instead, she will bring a similar weapon buff with her amp ability, but also will bring stealth and multi-shot buffs, not to mention the armor buff from her metronome ability as well. So again, what sets Chroma apart from these other support Warframes, and why would you bring him instead of these? As far as my two current test builds on my Chroma that I mentioned at the start of this video, I have a 254% power strength squad buff build with a 20 meter range on his Vex Armor buff, and of course a solo 293% power strength tank build for when you still want to try and be a solo less effective tank. But with both of these builds, I'm probably going to have to change that aura slot out and eventually put corrosive projection in there, because I enjoyed running him solo before, but now that he's going to be a lot more squad orientated, it means that of course corrosive projection is going to be more beneficial. Now let me know how you feel about Chroma's changes, whether you're happy, sad, angry, or just meh, don't give a fuck. Do me a huge favour and hit that like button if you enjoyed the video, or don't if you didn't. Subscribe for more Warframe, and as always, thanks very much for watching.
Stepping out.